Different voices, a whole new spirit. Ooh, people working together from every walk of life.
Thank you, John, and thanks to all of you for coming out on this wintry day to listen to my colleagues and me give you a preview of the spring legislative session and an update on some items of local interest. So I want to thank the Chamber for giving us this opportunity, and I want to thank our host, IBW Local 176. And I do want to acknowledge my wife, Laura, and also my district office staff, Robin and Carissa. They do a lot for me and a lot for the people I represent here in the 43rd District. Would you please give them a hand? And I say we're going in seniority order here, not just time spent in the Senate, but also on Earth. It was a week today that I met our new governor, Bruce Rauner, for the first time. It is the Senate President's tradition to hold a brunch in his office before members of the Senate are sworn in on Wednesday of Inauguration Week. And I want to tell you, there are several reasons why I'm optimistic about the new administration. There are a couple of reasons I'm concerned. So I want to briefly touch on these and then talk about some local projects. I sincerely appreciate Governor Rauner's willingness to serve. Clearly he doesn't need the money. And he has other things to do, but he has chosen to throw his hat in the ring, put his name on the ballot, won the primary, obviously won the general election, and he wants to devote his time and skills to getting Illinois back on its feet again, and I commend him for that. I also appreciate that he's bringing new ideas and a new perspective to state government, and I believe I have an obligation to give those ideas, give that new perspective a fair hearing. Also, I think that the return of two-party government in Illinois means that there'll be true engagement between Democrats and Republicans in the Senate, especially when it comes to adopting a budget. I'm going to use a couple body metaphors here. It's said by Republicans that we Democrats shove a budget down their throat. It's said by we Democrats that Republicans sit on their hands during the budget process. This year, both sides are going to have to be engaged. A couple reasons for concern. One, and I mean this in the fairest way possible, I don't know how much Governor Bruce Rauner knows about Will County. I mean, we're going to work our darndest to make him familiar with Will County, with Joliet, with the districts that we represent. Governor Pat Quinn doted on Will County. Governor Pat Quinn invested in Will County. Governor Pat Quinn was very attentive to our needs, and that's in large part due to the efforts of our county executive, Larry Walsh. If you ever had the opportunity to see Governor Quinn and the county executive together, the respect, the affection that Pat Quinn has for Larry Walsh was evident. I'm also concerned because I'm afraid that we're going to have to spend more time on fundraising. Governor Rauner obviously is not stingy when it comes to spending his personal wealth on his campaigns or those of members of the Illinois General Assembly. He spent a fair amount of money on some state house and state senate races this year. We're all up in 2016. This might mean more call time. Seriously, this might mean more time for incumbents dialing for dollars. So having said that, I'm sure I've convinced all of you never to give me your cell phone numbers. So seriously, I think it's going to be a new era in Illinois politics, not just because we have a Republican governor and supermajorities in the House and Senate, but also because of the infusion of millions and millions and millions of dollars and the fact that those millions might be in play in 2016 in General Assembly races. Regarding local issues, Collins Street Prison. Representative Walsh and I inherited the Collins Street Task Force from the aforementioned Senator A.J. Wilhelmi and my uncle Jack McGuire. We meet quarterly. It's really a robust group. We really appreciate the involvement of Joliet Township, Lockport Township, the City of Joliet, the County of Will County Forest Reserve District. Here's where we're at. Governor Ryan, of course, closed the Collins Street Prison 12 years ago. Nothing's been done except that the building has been allowed to deteriorate. There are plenty of worthy ideas on how to repurpose it. We first have to find out the condition of the dirt. So when we look at Collins Street Prison, we regard it as two parcels. Prison east of Collins Street, of course, which is over 100 acres of largely open land through which Louise Ray Parkway curves, and then the prison itself. Well, there was a shooting range, of course, on Prison East, so there might be some contamination of the soil. There were prison industries within the walls of Collins Street Prison itself. So I'm pleased that Governor Quinn's Illinois EPA has conducted soil tests on Prison East, that is the 100-some acres of open land. We should have those results this month. and the Illinois EPA will be conducting phase 2 soil tests at Prison West, the prison itself, as soon as the weather warms up. So that's good. We're getting cooperation from the state of Illinois to find out the condition of the soil, so then we can entertain these ideas for repurposing both sides of the facility. IYC Joliet, Illinois Youth Center Joliet, of course, Representative Walsh and I and other members of the Will County delegation disagreed with our Governor Pat Quinn when he closed the Illinois Youth Center on McDonough Street. I'm glad that his administration proposed repurposing it into a mental health treatment center for adult mental offenders. There are about 1/10 of the inmates in the Department of Corrections' 28 facilities are classified as severely mentally ill. And there's a court case that is compelling the state of Illinois to provide better care. So I'm pleased that the governor listened to us, to our pleas not to let McDonough Street sit idle like Collins Street has been allowed to sit idle. And the administration has secured $17 million for brick and mortar work at IYC Joliet and McDonough Street to get it ready for these adult male offenders. And I was really happy to talk to the DOC Chief of Staff yesterday, who's a holdover from the Quinn administration, who said that this $17 million is, quote, secure, solid, and released. So there should be contracts let in the next month, again, for $17 million of construction work at the Illinois Youth Center. The work should be finished by April 16, and offenders should move in June of 2016, if we get $30 million in the budget to operate it. So it's all contingent on revenue, spending, Governor Rauner's proposed budget. So we're going to sink $17 million, your money, our money, into that facility, brick and mortar work, again, to get it ready for adult male offenders. Then we have to give them $30 million in our next budget to operate. Joliet Junior College, one of the best birthday presents I ever got was when Governor Pat Quinn came to Joliet Junior College's City Center campus on October 11th and announced that he was shipping $10 million to JJC to get that building finished. Those were words. But later that month, I think it was on October 27th, JJC's President Ted Daniels got a signed agreement from Governor Quinn that the $10 million is being released. And I see no, Governor Rauner last week promulgated an executive order which puts all state contracts and grants affected since November 1st on ice for an intensive review. Well, we made it by 4 days. So this $10 million for JJC should not be subject to the scrutiny which the new administration is putting all grants post-November 1st to. Intermodal truck traffic, again, this is something that all members of the Will County delegation work a lot on. Last week, of course, the Interstate Commerce Commission announced that Walter Store and Drive should be closed within the next 2 weeks. One thing that Representative Walsh and I are concerned about is this. If trucks westbound on 80 no longer get off the Chicago Street exit to go down 53, they will probably proceed through Joliet to the junction of Interstate 80 and Interstate 55 and then go south to the Arsenal Road interchange. And I'm wholly in favor of maximum use of the Arsenal Road interchange. We paid for that. It was designed to get those trucks into the intermodals. What we're concerned about is the increased truck traffic through Joliet from the Chicago Street exit west. I mean, we all know how tight the ramps are around Center Street. We know that the road curves approaching and leaving the Des Plaines River Bridge. And then at 80 and 55, if you're on 80 westbound and you take the ramp on the southbound 55, of course, that's a long, slow ramp. Trucks take that very slowly so that their loads don't shift and they don't tip over. So there's long been a problem with traffic merging on the southbound 55. If there are more trucks using that problem's going to increase. And then, of course, there's a lane reduction from 3 to 2. So Larry and I are preparing a letter to Governor Rauner asking him to deploy the resources, the skills of IDOT and the state police to address these problems, because we don't want any more traffic hazards created as these trucks go through Joliet and then go down to 55. Now I want to tell you my priorities for this legislative session are going to be these. First, to see that those local projects I've touched on get completed, get accomplished. Second, working with my colleagues on the Democrat and Republican sides to build a tax structure in Illinois that generates revenue sufficient for our needs. And then, of course, to ensure that that money is spent effectively. Now, I don't know Governor Rauner's plans, but we're going to learn them soon. On February the 4th, he will give the State of the State address, and then 2 weeks later, on February 18th, he must present his budget address. So, as has often been noted, Governor Rauner did not release very many detailed plans during this campaign, or has not issued many detailed plans since his inauguration last Monday, but we're soon going to find out. State of the State address on February 4th, and his budget address on February 18th. So I thank you for your attention. I look forward to your questions and comments.
Thank you very much, Chambers, for having me here today, and I appreciate everyone coming out to hear us speak. I was recently at the III conference, and when legislators speak, the room seems to get crowded because they're so eager for some good news or to hear something. And unfortunately, we speak very broadly a lot of times because we don't have specifics, and we have to wait just like you do to see what's in front of us before we take votes. I too had the pleasure of sitting down with, it was then Governor-elect Rauner, relatively quickly after his election. I went up to his temporary office in Chicago, and we spent about 30-40 minutes together. I think it was a battle of the wits. I was trying to get information from him. He was trying to get information from me. So I was telling my staff member, by the time halfway through, I figured we're not getting anything from each other. I just want to make him like me so he doesn't come after me. And so I hope I did that. I'm going to talk about some general things that we did over the last year and what we're still working on in the next general election. Obviously, the most recent thing was the comptroller bill, which is House Bill 4576, and what that does in the next election, 2016, is going to bring the vote back to our constituents, the people. And I had someone recently call and say, well, what do you think about the two offices being condensed? You know, it's going to save money. Do you support that? And I have a hard time speaking on offices that I have no experiences. I came from the regional office, and no one knew what the regional superintendents did. They're easy targets when you don't know what they do. You don't know their work. So my safest answer is we had Judy Bartopinka, who served in both offices and felt that those offices should be combined. So with her experience, her knowledge, I would say that would probably be my direction. We will see what happens. I know there has been talk about the two combining, but that'll be something coming forward. But I definitely had no qualms about supporting the special election. I think it was a win-win for everyone. We had Quinn, who was able to appoint someone. We had Governor Rauner, who was able to appoint someone, and now we're going to bring to the voters that it should be. I remind people, we voted for Judy Bartopinka, and I can even say in previous elections, I voted for Judy Bartopinka. We need to make sure that that our voice is represented. Another one that we've seen a little press on is the same-day voter registration. This was something we piloted in this past election. It has become permanent, so in 2016, in the general election, we'll now have same-day registration. Again, one of these topics that causes debate. Back to my same talking point. I think it's important that we get people to come out and vote. I've had people question, well, why are we making it easier? Why are we making things simpler? And you know, simple isn't always bad. We've learned that through this process. People don't always have the luxury of staying in one place and getting somewhere on time. We are in a mobile society. Situations change. I'm fortunate. I have a home that I go home to. I know what, you know, I go into the same registration or the same voting booth and they know me. We don't all have that luxury. I think it's imperative that people have their voices heard and that we continue to make the process easy. I know we've heard numbers regarding that, what that's going to cost the county. We're going to work with my colleagues here to verify that number. I'm going to say on record, I think it's a little inflated, but we will make sure that we revisit that. Pension decision still on hold. We are waiting for the Supreme Court to rule. We hope I hope at least that it continues the path that it has. They're also hoping that the Supreme Court gives some directions on how the legislation should react to that. I'm not sure we're going to have that. I'm not even sure if this is something that the governor is going to tackle immediately. As we mentioned, he has a few weeks to create a budget And I don't think we're going to have a Supreme Court verdict as of that. So my guess is that it's going to have to be on the back burner and going to move forward. The focus needs to be on revenue in the state of Illinois. I'm going to come back to the education funding because I know we have some of my school friends here. Minimum wage did pass in the Senate. As you know, it did not get called in the House. It is already out there. Again, I mean, minimum wage already has a new bill that increased it to $10 an hour. It also created some tax incentive to small businesses as well. So it does have a new face to it. So if you're not up to date with the minimum wage bill, be sure you look at it again. It's still a work in progress. Minimum wage is still a work in progress, but it already has been signed a bill number. New retirement saving plans, otherwise known as a secure choice. That for small businesses create a 401k. Just so people know, it is not a mandate that businesses have to give those dollars. This is a voluntary program for employers. They can opt out of it. Again, I like to mention things. I got phone calls out. The secure choice was one of them. My colleague and I offered a workshop for small businesses, so Daniel Biss was a sponsor to come out. I think we sent it to 10 chambers, we put it out there. We had absolutely zero people interested in that, so I think that is a good piece of legislation that will help in the long run. Another controversial one that social media kind of threw out of proportion was eavesdropping laws. Again, that is protection for us. It's not saying that we cannot videotape or tape our police officers back there. That is not what this bill does. It's a protection to local citizens here. So again, always be wary of what you read on Facebook. What was it? Revenge pork. That was kind of we had a firefighting manning bill that is again. Public safety is a huge concern, and it's been spun that we are increasing property taxes by this bill. All this legislation does is clarify language. And I can tell you right now that Illinois Municipal League and the current sponsor, John Monroe, have already met together to make the governmental league happier about the chosen language there. So they are sitting down, and so people are more aware of what is happening with that piece of legislation. One quick too, sorry. Jury duty. Recently, there was a bill that passed that lowered the number of juries to 6, from 12 to 6 in civil trials. It also increased the amount that we have to pay our juries. Obviously, it's a very important civic responsibility. People don't want to give up work, though, to make this minimum amount. We have increased it. However, there is Senate Bill 59. I am chief co-sponsor with Senator McGuire we're working on making the language permissive. So you can't go any lower than you were, but if it becomes a hardship to the county, at this time you can hold off on that. Recycling rate, Public Act 97-287. I'm having a town hall tonight, so you're getting kind of a preview. These are questions people called in and asked. Right now, the county supports and a lot of our townships support we have to recycle electronics. Those dollars are ending from the state. There is Senator Altoff has Senate Bill 35, which does allow municipalities, counties to charge for that service. I'm going to spend a little bit more time on education funding. Obviously, that is my background. That is my passion. The children of the county, the state, my communities. So Senate Bill 16 was the Education Reform Act that made Illinois state dollars equitable across the state. Basically, if you could afford to pay your own school districts more money, less money was given to you, more money was given to more of our poor districts. As expected, Senate Bill 16 was not called in the House. It allowed us this summer to work on it more. And Senate Bill 16 is now Senate Bill 1. I think they like Senate Bill 1 to be like the cursed number, because education funding is now Senate Bill 1. And what it does is it takes some of the concerns from our regional districts here, our area here, where we're seeing significant dollars lost to our school districts. They've created a weighted system for regional wages. So obviously in our areas up north here, we pay our teachers more. They're allowing a weighted system so they can accommodate those teachers. They're also looking at things that, and again, this is probably linked more for our school board members, our superintendents are going to hear this. So I'm speaking maybe a little bit Greek to other people, but they're going back to the DHS poverty level numbers. So that'll help, for lack of better words, poverty levels in our area, where they lower it. So some people who are considered poverty, we had increased that level, they're bringing it back down to DHS level. They're taking in some accountabilities for early language learners as well, and some special education. They've also reviewed some special education, technical things, and one more thing here, I'm gonna think. Oh, the anomaly districts. Some of our smaller districts like Rockdale and who received big hits for unknown reasons. So they're going to be able to even out. We're not going to see these $10 million, $8 million, $6 million hits to our regional areas. The language has not been filed yet, but it shall be coming soon. So that is my preview. If you'd like to come back tonight, I am in the Crest Hill Library, the new Crest Hill Library. Feel free to stop by tonight. If I may use this time too, the Chambers is going to be hosting and navigating Springfield from home. I'm not sure the date in February, but again, I think you're going to see from our colleagues here that we really want to hear what you have to say. We come back to this community, it's very important. So the Chamber's going to remind Samantha, raise your hand, and Samantha's #1 person in my district office. She's going to be having an event so you know how to see what's going on in Springfield. She's going to run you through the government dashboard so you know how you can do a witness slip, you can know what committees are meeting. So that's going to be happening through the Chamber soon, so please look out for that. And also on February 16th at my kids' homeschool, our good friend Dr. Kaler, we're going to have a kids fair on February 16th. So that is a day off of school, so please bring your kids there or have the news on. So again, thank you for having me here. I always appreciate the opportunity to come in front of you and let you hear me.
You heard from the upper chamber, if you so will, they kind of like to talk a lot because nobody yells back at them. In our chamber, there's lively discussion, and we often get yelled at when we're trying to debate our issues, so hopefully nobody yells back at me. But as my colleagues from the upper chamber had stated, we have very many different things going on. I'll be fortunate enough to say that after our election in November, I did get a call from Governor-elect Browner asking to sit down with me. I did go meet with him the week before Christmas. It was kind of in-person or personable kind of visit. He wanted to get to know about my family, wanted to know, what made me tick, and I wanted to let him know that Will County and Joliet matter. We do matter in this state of Illinois, and I made it a focus of my discussions with him to know that not only are we the soon-to-be second largest populated county in the state, but we're also one of the fastest growing in the nation, and we need to be aware of that. He did take my concerns, wrote them down. The staff people did say that he would love to get together and meet with us down the road. So actually this week I've had 2 conversations with his office, one concerning my former employer at over on Route 6 Caterpillar, and then the second one was in discussion of some of his executive orders that he had passed or is signed into policy reviewing the Indiana Expressway. As many of you know, I represent the 86th district, and in the heart of that district are 2 of the largest intermodals within North America. We are facing a very strained infrastructure system throughout my district and throughout this whole county, and we need to be on top of it. So one of my, yesterday we sent out an email to his chief of staff inviting Governor Rauner to come down here and visit our area to get a grasp of what is going on, to see it firsthand, the growth that we're seeing and the needs that we are going to be faced. I have not heard a response back, but we're hoping to get that very, very soon and have hopefully something set up for the second week of February is my plan. But going forward, it was about, we just finished session last year. I think it was June or July we came and spoke to this crowd about what we did in Springfield in May of 2014. And if I'm not mistaken, I stood up here and told you we punted on the budget. We did not pass what I would call a true balanced budget. We were hoping that we would come back in the veto session and try to fix some of the imbalances that took place because of the issues that we were facing, whether with the expiration of the income tax and some of the strains that we were facing on our budgetary, discretionary budget making process. Now, that didn't happen in veto session. So today, we're waiting to hear from our governor on how we're going to fix this mess. And to be honest with you, we're facing not only for this year, fiscal 15, which does not end until June 30th, we're facing about a $2 to $3 billion shortfall. And I see one of my meetings for tomorrow sitting here today, child care resources. These are agencies and organizations that take care of our kids when we're at work. For people that have low incomes or need some assistance, that's a godsend for them, so they can go to work to make a living and then be able to have trusted care. This organization, this agency is going to run out of money February 1st. $300 million is going to be short. These are some of the issues that we're going to be tackling. And they're going to be very, very difficult. Fortunately, I was sworn into office on January 14th, and we got to hear a lot of speeches. And the Speaker of the House, Mike Madigan, I'm a friend of everybody, basically got up and says, welcome to the process. You guys have been able to sit back and you know, blame everything on the party. We've had one party rule for 12 years. It was easy to sit back and not be a part of the process. Can't happen anymore. You've got your governor in office. We're looking forward to working with him to find these solutions and working together to bring bipartisan roll calls to the issues that we face. It's going to be a very, very interesting process over the next 4 months to see how that transpires. So, you know, in the campaign season, there's a lot of rhetoric thrown around. There's a lot of statements being made. Now comes the time to make those decisions, and it's time to cast those votes. And the red light doesn't work every time anymore. So, you know, as we go forward, I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I'm going to get back on the General Services Appropriations Committee, which deals with a lot of the state agencies and the governors, under the governor's administration. Also, because of actually being in my third term, I get to be a committee chair, which I have created an intermodal infrastructure committee. Waiting to see who's on it and when we're going to go, but I did get word from the speaker that that would be my committee, and looking forward to working to try to enhance what we have here, not only in Joliet and in the 86th district, but throughout Will County. Other than that, it's going, like I said, going to be an interesting year. There's not a lot of specifics being thrown around. As Senator McGuire had stated, we're going to have the State of the State on February 4th, and then the budget address, which we'll know which way we're going to be approaching these issues and how we're going to get there. So with that, thank you for your attention. I'd be glad to answer any questions after we're done. Thanks.
I think a legislative update for chamber members is important. And as my colleague said before me, I think it's important that you know that you can reach out to us whenever you have an idea, a question, a concern. Not everything is as it appears. That's pretty much a given in a lot of things in life. And so if you ever are in doubt, or if something doesn't seem right or doesn't, we joked about Facebook. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So anyway, I want to thank the Joliet Chamber for their professionalism, always. And I think they're a key element in the success of business here. So thank you, Russ. Thank you, Mary. I'm so glad to see you, Russ. Very nice. My name is Natalie Manley. I was really unhappy to see the snow today because I did not have bread bags to put on my shoes. That seemed to be the thing that you would do. Anyway, I'm just kidding. Did you guys watch the address last night? Anyway. A little history. CPA. I see my colleagues at the table in the back, ooh, CPAs. But they're looking like, we don't do that. Raised professionally at Warburg Rogers, Duran and Ruzon. Nearly 2 decades worth of governmental accounting, auditing, budgeting, and tax preparation. A lot of you know me from WJOL. I've been doing, believe it or not, it's been 12 years that I've been doing the Lynn, Mary, and Natalie show. And we have made it a commitment to using that time to help organizations, nonprofits, new business, and things like that. So we continue to do that. I miss them when I'm in Springfield, I'll tell you that. Just started my 2nd term, and my district takes into account the western portion of Bolingbrook, Romeoville, a little bit of Crest Hill, a little bit of Joliet, and not Plainfield proper, but some Plainfield addresses, and non-incorporated. One of the things that I'm most committed to doing is being accessible to my constituents. That includes the businesses that are in my district. It is a lot of hard work, but we deserve that. People deserve it. And we're going through some tough times here in Illinois. There's been a lot of talk about bipartisanship. It's what I've been trying to do ever since I got there. I don't think you can be successful if you're not willing to work with people or listen to people that have, or learn from people that have a difference of opinion. A lot of times I'll go and, all right, Walsh makes fun of me, but I go around with my little, very accountant-ish, by the way, and I go around and I introduce myself, tell them what the bill is that I'm working on, and a lot of times you're met with a scoff. I've even had people laugh in my face over my legislation. But they'll ask me questions, and as uncomfortable as that exchange can be, it makes me think about things I'd never thought of before. And so I go back and I work on it harder. It helps to be over 50 because you don't really care about that stuff anymore. You just know that you have people that are relying on you, and I take that very seriously. So it doesn't feel like hard work. It feels like the right kind of work to be doing. The committees I was on last session was the Appropriations Committee for Human Services. It's my heart. It's when I first selected it, they said, you do not want this committee. It is going to be a gut-wrenching experience. We have to make the financial decisions for funding for all the nonprofits, human services, veterans, seniors, those with disabilities, you name it. These are the people that fall under the umbrella of human services appropriations. And I probably have told you this story before, but at one time in my life, I have since been, and it will be going forward. I'm looking out at the faces that I know are going to be affected by some of this stuff if we don't get it together. I think it's important to have people there that understand, and that understand how important that stuff is, and help make those decisions. So I, against the advice of my more senior colleagues, I've asked to be on the committee, and I've been on it and have asked for it this session as well. Helps to have a CPA when you're doing budgeting. Helps to have somebody ask those questions that other people really don't understand. I've also asked, I have not gotten confirmation on my committees for the next session, but I've also asked to be on General Services Appropriations. So we'll see how that goes. I think it's a good idea to have somebody who understands that stuff sitting at the table. I don't want to bore you with all the legislation that I've passed, but a lot of what I do, I pick up from my Senate colleagues. There's been multiple pieces of legislation that I've passed from ideas from people right here. We're not geniuses in Springfield. You probably already know that, right? But people come to us and they say, I've had this problem and I wonder if you can help me. And from that discussion, as simple as that might be, something can be done. Some piece of legislation can help make that person's life better, and many others will be affected by it as well. So most of what I do, I either get ideas or initiatives from the state's attorney's office, my constituents, and I'm very proud to do that. Hot topics for the 99th, the budget. With the expiration of the income tax hike, there'll be an enormous gap. Larry mentioned $2-3 billion. I'm thinking more like $4 billion. 1, 2, 3, 4 billion. Boggles the mind. This will require some cuts to programs and services. I'm not looking forward to that at all. We talked about taxation. Last fall, there was a lot of conversation about the tax structure in Illinois, primarily on who we tax and the rates, things like that. The one thing that I've noticed, and I'm really new at this still, so I've been there 2 years, starting my third. Not a lot, but there are some people that would like to motivate other people by fear, so they start rumors. So one of the things that I was especially unhappy about is that some rumor got thrown out there that we wanted to tax retirement income. Well, it's really cruel to do that to senior citizens that are, they were on fixed incomes. And so that is not something I would support, and I have not seen any words to that. Nothing written, a lot of rumor. We're talking about progressive tax systems, we're talking about a bunch of things, taxing services, all kinds of different ways to raise revenue. I hate that all that is tax. So I'm weird. So I was raised professionally in a small business right here in Will County. And I maybe have a different view of things, but I think that there are some people in the General Assembly that look at business in an adversarial way that never has made sense to me. I looked at business and to the growth of business as part of the solution and a natural solution to a lot of the revenue problems we have. Giving business incentives doesn't hurt us, but maybe giving business incentives without accountability might hurt us. So we got to rethink the way we do things. But maintaining our partnership with the business community is essential. That's just my opinion. Pensions, that's still hanging out there. We're waiting for guidance from the Supreme Court. The issue of pension reform is not just to fix the problem of being able to fund it, it's being able to maintain the system. To sustain the system that so many people are relying on, that so many people have been promised. And so in order to fix it and maintain it, we have to change it. And the people that have been affected by it, many of those people realize now that something needs to be done. So we're moving in that direction. We want to remain within the confines of the Constitution, obviously. My goal, you're going to hear bipartisanship a million times. Isn't that cool? All of a sudden I've always thought that it takes ideas from both sides, and I've been proud to tell you that a lot of my legislation has been co-sponsored by Republican Party members as well. So I just think it makes it stronger. What else can I tell you? I've filed 8 bills that range from fiscal reforms to public safety initiatives. Again, I will be seeking bipartisan support for those. We have an opportunity for both sides of the aisle to participate, like Representative Walsh mentioned, and I'm looking forward to that as well. The budget is number one, and the second thing is the pension thing. And when we get past that, and we have to have thoughtful conversation. We have to be able to talk to each other. We joke that in the Senate they have debate. In the House we have like screaming matches, and it gets, truthfully, it's annoying as hell to have to listen to people rant about things that their hearts really aren't into. When it's for the cameras, it's annoying to me, and I think it's bad behavior. And I hope that together we can get to the right place for everyone. I think we all want to go to the same place, it's just we've got a different roadmap. and working together is important. So, we return to Springfield next week. I hope you will wish us good luck. We're really going to need it. And please stay in touch with your representative, your senator, and if you can't get in touch with them, I've had non-constituent people call me all the time. Thank you very much. Happy New Year, everybody.
Listen, you can hear it. Different voices, a whole new spirit. Ooh, people working together from every walk of life.